The senator for Kisii County, Richard Onyonka, is a very vocal man these days, particularly, and he's our next guest for the next hour. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning. Good morning, all of you.
Good morning. Good morning.
I'm happy to be here. A bit tired, but we can keep going.
Umechoka?
Yes, I'm tired. I'm tired. It's been a very heavy
It's been a busy weekend for you.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
All right. Let's just ease you into the conversation with the day's quote.
Right.
Yeah.
The day's quote is by a gentleman called Denzel Washington, renowned actor, humanitarian, and he once said 10 years ago, "Don't just aspire to make a living, aspire to make a difference."
That's a very big call. It's not easy for human beings to think that we can change anything. In fact, we are more comfortable being complacent and beneficiaries of what is not good most of the time. But I think largely, I think all of us have the space where we have to decide at some point, what do you stand for? Right, whether it's at a personal level, whether it's at a national level, or whether it's philosophically. I think human beings deserve or are expected to have certain positions, particularly positions for good. That's my
I wanted to say, just based on what you're saying, you know, a lot of people have watched you, and I particularly was really watching you during the Gen Z-led movement. And you really stood with young people, you stood against injustices, you stood against what happened with them. Let me play devil's advocate and think of a young person who was like, yes, Senator Onyonka gets us and understands, and then see you sort of politicking, quote unquote, and thinking, oh my, I thought he was going to be different. I didn't really think he was going to be aligning with politicians. We thought he was going to carve his own path, again, hypothetically speaking. How do you speak to that young person who perhaps is feeling a bit jaded with feeling like you were front and center, pushing for justice, pushing for a new path for Kenya, and then feeling like, okay, is it tribal lines now? Is it regional lines? Is it politics, as you sip tea? As we go into the bigger conversation, but speak to that first. Yes.
That is, it's a very clever question. The truth is, I didn't start discussing these issues and engaging myself on them because I felt that somebody needed to judge me fairly or even value me. The events which took place were personal to me because, like I've said, I did an interview about, I think it's about 2 months ago, and I was explaining every single event that took place on that day at the age where most of these young people were, I would definitely have been there. Why? Because I was in the university in 1982, when university students and at that time the military and everybody else wanted the government to go. I didn't participate in that activity because I was a student leader. I saw somebody commenting, Onyonka was never anything. I was never anything. I was just an accident that happened out of that eventuality. So I saw myself being arrested. I was put in a Land Rover. I saw myself coming to Nairobi. I saw myself being taken to GSU. Imagine nobody had ever seen me being picked. I would just have been abducted and most probably killed. So I was going through a narrative or a scenario or spaces which were directly spaces that I had traveled before. So my reaction was purely of saying, listen, this event is not an accident. It's because we are behaving badly. And why are we behaving badly? Is because we act as if there's no adult in the room. And therefore, the things I was raising about Gen Zs and the issues about Kenyan governance and how the system is broken and all that, actually, it was not really about Gen Zs. It was literally about me. I mean, I don't think that I'm safe. I have kids who are on social media and they will always blog. I never watch what they do. I never ask them because it's not possible. So can you imagine somebody picking my daughter or son and taking them somewhere because they have criticized the president? And then the document we use that guides us, the GPS, is our constitution. The constitution allows for somebody demonstrate, criticize, and most probably question authority.
Yeah.
So my conscience is very clear. I know people, I mean, and I don't want to really belabor this, Latif, because we've done this with you before. I was not trying to tell Kenyans that some of us are morally upright and we're the most dignified and therefore we deserve a chance to rule or govern Kenyans. No. I was just saying, this is the spot where we are and it's pathetic. That's all. Even now, that's what I say. I mean, I've listened to the conversation we are having with the water seas. He's wasting your time. The problem with Kenya is nothing, Latif. It's corruption.
Bottom line.
Forget about the policies, UPIP. That's rubbish. The problem with our country, we're eating money from we even eat mortuary money.
Yeah, boy.
I mean, it's not about policy. Nairobi City County will never have water so long as the nonsense going on of stealing public money continues.
I see where you're going.
Before we continue, by the way, there's some sad thing that happened in Kisii yesterday.
Yes.
At the Kisii Stadium.
Yes.
This match between Gor Mahia and Shabana, 72 fans were injured.
Yes.
In this stadium. Speak to that for a bit.
First of all, I'd like to say that it was very sad because for me, when those events were happening, we were actually traveling from Kisii to Nyeri because we were going to meet the other teams there. Then I saw the events now there are two versions to that story. Some people say it was the Gor Mahia fans who started throwing stones, and then what you saw is a reaction from that. For me, there is no justification for any violence. The moment you show violence and use violence to achieve any purpose, it means you're weak. It means you're not able to think straight. And that must never happen, according to me and the way I look at it. You're going to have a game. You should enjoy it. Now, why are you beating each other up? Why? So even when it may look as if that is, of course, you know, we are tribal all the time and we keep on looking at everything with a tribal mirror. My honest observation is that is silly. It should never happen. And for me, I tell the people in Kisii, especially the young people, stop that nonsense. You can enjoy your game. You can play your vuvuzelas. In fact, you should welcome our opponents who come to watch football. If they lose, let's say, you guys, you are better than us, improve. Next time if you win, just celebrate. That's my position. Yes.
What did you say then about the shoe hurling incident?
It's the same. I mean, some people are celebrating about, why would I want my president to be thrown a shoe? I mean, there's so much anger in this country. And that anger is, truthfully, everybody wants to blame William for it. I do blame him quite a bit. But I think there's a level at which this anger either has to be managed. And that's where I criticize him. I say, every single transaction and everything he's been doing for the last 6 months is against what the public wants. And the public's expectation is not superficial. The public expects the president to create certain interventions. I mean, the story like 100 people going for jobs, it's a nice story. But you see with Kenya, the problem is, as I see these 100 kids who are going, I have in my phone kids who are writing from us from Yemen, from Saudi Arabia, from Qatar, who are saying we moved in, we went, we were given responsibilities, we are recruited to take a certain job. When we got here, they reduced the amount of money we are being paid. We are being put in hostels where we don't have clean water. I mean, there is much more for Kenyans. And I believe that we are not engaging ourselves conclusively on some of these issues. And if the government has signed a bilateral with any country and we are taking our people there, shouldn't we have a follow-up mechanism to find out, have these people, like these youths who have gone, how I wish that there would be people in that same ministry following up and checking out whether they settled in. Do we have, for example, Shazes, we have deputy governors or government officers who are receiving them on the other side? Because some of these individuals get into vehicles, they take a flight, land in Dubai, they meet strangers, they're taken to places, there's a culture shock. I believe we can do it better. But as usual, corruption enables us to be lazy because it's an easier way of making quick money, and it doesn't matter what how we affect the people who...
Not thinking of the repercussions.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Senator, I'm trying to reconcile two Senator Onyonkas.
Yes.
One is last year, vocal, like you said, very steadfast, very sure about your stance as far as the finance bill, and why young people were protesting and being behind them.
Yes.
Then there's the Senator Onyonka who was welcoming Fred Matiangi to Kisii. Fred Matiangi, who's CS, was former CS for Interior as well. And under his tenure, Miguna's deportation.
True.
Under his tenure, Rivayala bodies that we've still never gotten answers to.
Yes.
Under his tenure, shutdown of local media. Sorry,
Shakahola.
Yes, Shakahola as well. So yeah, I'm just trying to reconcile those two. And you said, welcome to Kisii, Dr. Matiangi. That's the same Dr. Matiangi.
Let me tell you, the moment you changed Chapter 6 of the Kenyan Constitution, you lowered the bar. Let me ask, why are you discussing Matiangi? Discuss William Ruto. Why is the president encouraging abductions? Why is it that people are being, your journalists being taken to court because they have done a documentary on the abductions? Why are we having 100 billion being stolen and nothing happens? I am not saying that we shouldn't interrogate Matiangi. What I'm saying is we reduce the threshold in such a manner that we accepted that until somebody has been proven guilty, they are innocent until they are proven guilty. My position is it is Matiangi's responsibility to be accountable, to be answerable, and he will be explaining to Kenyans why those things happened, if they did happen. My position is very simple. I've said this publicly before. I think he mishandled the Miguna scenario. I have mentioned in public and said I think Miguna deserves an apology from him unequivocally, and I think it is important for him to explain the circumstances under which those decisions was being made. Does it exonerate himself from those issues? My answer is no. Should that disqualify him from running for president? No. Why? Because show me one of the guys running for president who has better record, worse record. We are nearly all the same. Thugs, crooks, and something in between. That has been my position. So I'm arguing. Let me give you an example. Look at Donald Trump. He's been convicted as a rapist. He's been convicted as somebody who has broken 2030 laws. He has been convicted of crimes except against humanity, but all sorts of crimes. And yet in reality, even the same standard which is high in the US, Trump went on and won elections, and that is it. So I'm not justifying Fred's behavior. What I am saying is we must methodically understand that we do not have angels. Even me. If you went into my closet and checked out what was in there, you'd most probably be shocked. And yet I'm constantly discussing and saying, listen, we can do it better. We don't have to steal. Okay, maybe I've stolen once or twice, maybe small, or maybe I didn't. But I'm saying we must stop this issue of pontificating and carrying an attitude as if we are looking for Jesus Christ who's going to come and save everybody in the world.
So then let Ruto run. Continue running.
My attitude is take the two if you think they're both criminals and let's judge them fairly.
Because
that's my argument.
Here you are, you're saying that you have so much criticism against William Ruto.
He's the president.
And then you say, okay, so here is William Ruto, he's so wrong, but here is Matiangi, but what's wrong?
No, but Ruto is the president.
But you want Matiangi to become president.
Ruto is the president. My argument is this.
And you want Matiangi to become president.
Absolutely. If you look at what I would call, quote unquote, the crimes of Ruto and Matiangi is 10%. That's all I'm saying.
Because he's not yet president.
No, because if you look at the issues which are raised, let me tell you this. We do not have a government agency that has got the responsibility to tell us what happens here in Rivayala. You guys talk about it. All right? You guys have not even been able to do a documentary to see somebody saying, yes, I saw Matiangi give these orders, these instructions. You are just talking about hypothetical.
Not hypothetical.
But wait, Latif, wait.
Senator,
but the truth, let me finish, then you come in. But what I am saying, and I repeat this, he's accountable. When the time comes for him to explain to the Kenyans, he will be.
When he is launching a presidential bid, is that not the time to be accountable? When he was in office,
he is not a candidate yet.
When he was in office,
he was
accountable. When he left office, I think still accountable.
Absolutely.
Now as a private citizen, still accountable.
But he's been out of office for 3 years. Has anybody arrested him or taken him to court for any crimes?
Does that mean he's not accountable?
No, not really. But I'm answering the question, shouldn't we have, if you have Oscar Sudi saying Matiangi has done all this and this, Oscar Sudi are in government. So get the evidence and charge the guy. I mean, let's be fair. You see, Latif, I'm not saying Fred is an angel, but what I am saying is if you look and compare with the people that we have, and you look and compare with the people in administration, if some of the things I know, I was to sit here and start talking about them, you people would think I've gone crazy. And yet that is the reality of our politics. Our politics is dysfunctional to the extent that it is very difficult to take a candidate or an individual who's in political power today and find one who has a clean record.
Would you like to have one?
Who, me?
No. Would you like to have our next leader to be somebody who is at least above this political reproach?
In terms of?
Currently, you know, all this dirty water that we're saying, all of them are muddied. In fact, not just mud, there are feces all over them, right? That's what you're saying. Would you like to have our next president being a cleaner than the current?
Absolutely. Okay. That is why I'm saying let the nominations take place. If Matiangi is the presidential candidate, let him answer questions about his behavior before, when he was a cabinet minister and after he left, and then let him answer the questions for himself and let Kenyans judge him and decide whether they're going to vote or not.
Mariam and Eric, what's the threshold for clean?
That's the thing. So I don't think there's any perfect person, and I don't think it's a matter of pontification and wanting some angel to run for president, but it is fair to ask ourselves, when you see red flags and you ignore them, you don't have anyone to blame but yourself. Before President William Ruto got into power, a lot of the same questions could be asked about his integrity, about his past. All of those questions could be asked, but largely the country ignored them, voted him in. Okay, we're here now. If we do the same with Dr. Matiangi, who do we then come to blame?
My argument is very simple. You still have a record of both these individuals. You can have a record of William Ruto and have a record of Matiangi in terms of performance. I mean, you can take the issue of raising Matiangi's character and what happened when he's a minister for Interior. But look at Matiangi. When he was the minister for ICT, which you've raised, that he actually behaved badly when the reason why, and I'm not answering for him, I'm just giving the interpretation I got when these events were happening. All your media houses refused to move from
analog to digital. Not all.
Most.
Yeah.
When this argument was going through, when we were discussing it in Parliament, when we were trying to ask, why are people refusing to move from analog to digital? The next thing, of course, the TV stations were off, and it took, I think, about a week. Everybody was back on digital, and the story ended. How can you use that as a negative against the guy? Because you people in the media were the ones who actually created him. He came in, there was a government policy, the thing was passed in Parliament, and you refused to switch off your TV stations from analog to digital. Let's go to the Ministry of Education. Which minister has done a stunning job, including, and I'm sorry to use this case, but it's important for my data. My father was a minister for education 35 years ago.
Right.
Matiangi's performance was exemplary in terms of, we were having challenges of exams. We were having issues. I am aware, even the issue where you have discussed about the land question on what happened and everything. My point is this: I am not exonerating him from accountability. I am saying give him a fair chance to respond and answer those questions when the time comes.
Okay.
I want to...
you asked about the threshold, and I just want to take it back into how we have structured. And you said our GPS, our True North document is our constitution.
True.
Our constitution mandates our parliament, which is the National Assembly and the Senate, to oversight the executive, to demand questions and seek answers on behalf of the citizens.
True.
You've asked, so what have we seen any commission being established? Have we seen any questions being asked? Have we seen all these things have been asked of the previous administration when it was in office and now of our current administration? And I throw the question back at you.
Yes.
Why has Parliament not done this? When we have seen issues of so many deaths, River Yala, we have seen so many people who have been shot. We have very many reports of enforced disappearances and all. We have seen Shakahola happening, right?
Yes.
We have seen violence in the north. All those questions should have been asked by Parliament. Right now, those questions should still be asked by Parliament. And the people who were there in charge then, just like we are seeing Khalwale today in Taifa Leo, anasema Halale ataka Murkomen afutwe kazi tangu Murkomen awe waziri wa usalama, mauaji yameongezeka. Okay? This is a good question to ask.
That is true.
But follow up.
Thank you.
Matiangi has not answered questions about
again
Yala and false disappearances, anything that happened when he was a CS.
Thank you. Again, I bring the question right back to where you are. These were events that took place close to 5 years ago. These were events which I have raised before and I've stated my position on them. My argument is we should not whitewash Matiangi's character, behavior, performance as minister. We should look at it in totality from the perspective that what is it that you need to look at and you need to analyze. My position is very simple. Parliament, which I have told you before, for all intents and purposes, doesn't exist. Our parliament doesn't exist.
It's just a money-making venture for
it is a rent-collecting, cartel-arranged, cash-oiled and cash-fueled outfit where whoever that has the capacity to buy the ability for them not to be interrogated, questions, or even prosecuted, they manage that. The point I am raising, it is important, for example, when the time comes that Matiangi is going to be asked a question, I would love, if I was a journalist, to ask him, what do you believe in the rule of law? What has your performance been when it came to the issues of rule of law? Because I remember there was a time when, in fact, he was in Parliament and he was being asked about why are you not honoring court orders and everything, and there were answers he gave which anybody who wants to listen to can go and listen to. But the point I'm making is, yes, we must be in a position to interrogate our behavior as leaders. I accept the people of Kisii County who elected me as senator to question my integrity, my credibility, and the issues pertaining to my governance ability and capability. But what I'm saying is we must not be in a position where we are going to judge anybody until they can defend themselves. So my argument is allow Matiangi.
It's not judging, Senator.
No,
it's asking the questions.
No.
And I'm asking you.
Okay, let me put it differently.
As a senator,
yes.
Suppose Parliament was working.
Yes.
And it was doing the job.
Yes.
And Richard Onyonka, who is, upstanding senator and a member of that house,
yes,
was in that house that was functioning.
Yes.
What question would you ask Matiangi about all these things?
I would ask the same question you've asked. They're valid.
Have you raised such a question before Parliament? And now you can tell us that you have written, this is a question that I have put forth in the Senate as a senator for Kisii County.
Yes.
I'd like this Senate to take a moment to investigate these things that happened.
Can I ask you?
Yes. Okay.
Can you ask you?
And then you tell me that the speaker either ignored it or the fellow senator said, this is nonsense. But
I will ask you a very simple question. Why haven't we impeached William Ruto with all these crimes going on? Latif, why are you asking me an obvious question? This system is broken. You see, the point that we are trying to raise and the things that we are trying to mention is that you journalists and people of good intent are constantly trying to justify why somebody like Matiangi has done A, B, C, D, and you are saying, why have you not, for example, taken him and held and a commission of inquiry? One of the things that in our strategy that we've been discussing about is to say all these issues are related. The history of this country, the behavior of our leadership, and the things we have done as leaders are related. You don't solve that by going to court. You, for example, have a special inquiry which runs through when did Kenyans begin to have abductions? What are the causes of these abductions? What is it that has been done and has not been done? What has the Kenyan Human Rights Commission done? What has the DPP done? Well, I mean, there's a whole hodgepodge of things within our system that I feel that, yes, I want to hold people to account. Yes, I want to question their behavior in leadership and governance. But my position as a social democrat, which I am, and somebody who believes in the rule of law, allow the person to defend themselves.
Well, on that note, we are going to take a break. I think there's a lot more from this conversation. We have Senator Richard Onyonka in the studio, Senator for Kisii, and we're talking all things accountability, presidential candidacy, coalition, mtu wetu, all of those, they'll come up. We also have a lot of feedback on our social media. But you're on Fixing the Nation. We'll be back. It is now 8:30. We'll be back after this break.
For the last, most probably, effectively, I would say 5 years. And for me, the evidence is there. I have constantly raised this issue. I talked about it when I was a member of parliament. I've raised these issues about the integrity, the mismanagement of the financial resources of our country. I have talked about what the county governments are doing. I've talked about the corruption when you move from up all the way down. And the point I think that is most critical and important to the young people of this country, even amongst themselves, they are confused at what this thing called integrity is. I'll explain to you. If a young person today went and did a deal or went and gambled on Sportpesa and made 50 million, the next thing that this individual would do would most probably shock everybody, because then everybody goes into this largesse of big cars, big houses, and big things. And yet the meticulous preparation that we went through, some of us, to bring you from school, secondary, go to university, understand that you take time to accumulate resources and wealth. The very simple things that a good nation teaches its children are not being taught now. Now everybody is being taught how you have to hurry up, be fast, you need to look exceptional. When you make money and you buy a Range Rover, you put it on social media and show it to the world, then that shows how success. So to hear young people now talk about integrity, I'm so excited, because that is topic number one. Whether you're talking about roads, whether you're talking about water, whether you're talking about the issue that kids, there are no jobs, there are no factories that are being set here. There are plenty of cases where I have been told, for example, how international companies are planning to come and set up outfits in Kenya, and the reason why they can't set up, they're being asked to give kickbacks, or they're being forced to give ownership of those companies. Those are the really deep issues that are affecting our country. So if Kenyans can wake up and have integrity on leadership, on all of us, I am willing to be judged fairly and squarely. I am comfortable with my spaces. And I don't find a conflict of interest, any contradiction in all of us literally beginning to judge ourselves and saying, we think your standard is not high enough because you don't have the integrity that we expect for you to be our president. And that runs with all the people who are running for president in this country, running for governor, running for MCA, and running for member of parliament, and all the leadership.
That's well said. I want, integrity is a conversation we've had a lot of times on this platform.
Yes.
Sometimes I think we have a problematic relationship with integrity, because integrity sounds tedious. It sounds
but yes, it sounds cumbersome.
It sounds cumbersome, but it holds.
Yes.
And then what has been sold is the glorification of quick microwave solutions.
Yes.
And here we are. So I think as Kenyans as well, we need to get back to being comfortable with the cumbersome, comfortable with the long game. So we just like quick. Just some quick feedback as we get back into our conversation. There is a lot of feedback. It's quite varied. Nathan says, who is the better leader that we have? Emmanuel Templar says, Wandai before Senate and made undertaking the, his has a bit of English matters. I think I'll come back to it later. High Key 87 says, Eric, why hasn't anyone brought a motion to investigate Gen Z abductions and murders, and by extension, anything else? Timothy Ondemo, Matiangi is not an angel, but compared to most current aspirants, he stands out as the one who can transform this country. Kenyans have a chance to explore and support other good candidates like Maraga. Africa VR Campus and Center, where was Matiangi when the Pandora Papers were manifesting? Emmanuel Templar, it's a fact of life. Ruto's government has made money quickly, so salaries aren't enough. Corruption was expected and should be expected if the truthful man, aka pathological liar team, wins.
Right.
And so on and so forth. There is so much feedback. Is there more that you're seeing, Mariam?
So much. Gladys Asuko is painting an interesting picture. Says Matiangi is the boyfriend who will tell a girl, I don't have this, I have that. The choice is yours. Ruto is the boyfriend who will promise a girl heaven and do nothing. Matiangi is the best choice.
You see, I have no words.
He's like, it's not me who said, it's the Kenyans who are saying.
Mike the One says Senator Onyonka, no, I wanted to read this one. Yes, when it comes to integrity issues, Honorable Onyonka set the record straight. Why not Onyonka asking Kenyans to give him the presidency? Why Matiangi? Okay, right? If you're a Kenyan of good stature, why not?
Why not you?
I will answer that. Latif and my sisters, I'm very shy of power. I'm very
somebody who's been a member of parliament for how many years now?
But let's what power? What do you mean?
20-something years.
Let's start with that. You've been representing the people of your constituency and now your county for how many years?
25 years.
You're shy of power.
Right.
I'm shy of. I mean, I feel I am not good enough to be president. I feel that I am not prepared to be president. Why? Because I wish I'd started it when I was younger, but I couldn't because I didn't have the resources and everything. I feel that, and honestly, I believe this from deep down my heart. I believe that out of the candidates, if you give me Kalonzo Musyoka and Matiangi in the same government, I pray that there's a likelihood, and Gachagua, and the whole team, because I think all of us are learning from the mistakes that have been made personally or nationally, politically, whatever it is. I believe that I'm better off being part and parcel of the process of getting leadership that is going to try and change this country to make it a little bit better. And my job is I'm better off making noise than participating in the exercise. In other words, from the outside, when you are not a player, it is much easier to say, no, you move to number 6 or number 9 and play from that, and that kind of thing.
A kingmaker.
Yes. Number 2, other than being a member of parliament, for me to run for president of this republic, I need to raise minimally about 2 to 3 billion shillings. I mean, if you give me that kind of money, I would most probably get out of Kenya and go to Europe or go to South Africa or go to Malawi and buy a ranch and live there. I
thought you were going to say I'd pour it back into some of the county activities, but go ahead.
But truthfully, I also believe that it's everything in my life is predetermined. If I was going to be president, it will happen. I live it like that. I do not belabor, I do not fight for it, because so far what I've done in my life, even the position I have as Senator of Kisii County, has been an incredible blessing. So I'm even satisfied with what I have. But if you were to challenge me to run for president, I would give it one heck of a run.
Wow.
Modesty is a good thing. And I think you've answered it very well. I like the answer you've given.
Yes. I want to now come to the coalition.
Yes.
At hand, and that it's high profile. We were calling it earlier Avengers.
Yes.
I don't know if Eric agreed, but he didn't agree. He categorically disagreed.
Nope.
But let's say
it's reverse, the opposite of an
because you were trying to find Captain America and all these people.
Yes.
But is it another short-term political vehicle? Is it a group of people who will lead us to the new Kenya? It seems like it's just let's put together and get to 2027 and beyond, and not look beyond, but yeah.
I think that's a very good question. It's been one of the issues that I have received people telling me that, are you people into something substantive, or it's just one of these hodgepodge arrangement of picking individuals who are bitter, they're frustrated, who have lost opportunity, and they're all singing how President Ruto must go. My conviction is this, at some point, and you see, in the Kenyan context, you sometimes have to look at it historically, and Africa for that matter. Very many countries in Africa, opposition is always at the negative. Opposition is always at the disadvantage. So it's not easy to stand up and stand tall and fight for change and good governance. My belief in the team that we have now is that they are engaged and they're deeply discussing the dysfunctionality of our republic. And one of the issues that you listen publicly, many people raise, they say, oh, those people are just saying Ruto must go. What options are they bringing? We have got a 10-point plan, just like ODM had with the KK Alliance. And this 10-point plan is saying, look, can't we just have a country that is functional, where education is a human and basic right? Can't we just run our agriculture to make sure our people feed? All right, where people, if you're giving people inputs and you're providing any reprieve or any help to the farmers. You see, you see the problem with our country is that, yes, you want agriculture to improve and you want to give farmers inputs and you want to give them subsidies so that this can succeed. But that is always a deal. The purpose and intent of that exercise, which is good, is then turned around. It becomes a business arrangement. You saw what happened to the fertilizer. National Cereals and Produce Board. Today, I live in Kitale, and we have it doesn't work. When money is released, if it's billions usually, it is again the people in government who bring their own maize into national cereals. The ordinary farmer who's supposed to benefit doesn't help. Look at our health facilities. I mean, medicines don't exist. You have systems which are dysfunctional. Look at Nairobi City County. You have a county that is able to collect 110 billion shillings a year. What are we collecting right now? 12 billion. That's why I told you, the guy is talking about water in Nairobi. There's nothing they'll do. That is a system which has deliberately been broken down to make sure that individuals collect your water, sell it more expensively at a premium, and whether you get your water but they make sure that the Kileleshwa, bits of Lavington, Nairobi West, because of the community that is there now, Eastleigh, there's going to be, in other words, there's a deliberate place to fix and make sure there's no noise, but the rest is a cash cow. It's an ATM.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have a caller on the line. Gikundi from Meru, I think, has a question for the Senator. Gikundi, good morning.
Good morning, too.
What's your question for Senator Onyonka?
Question.
Yes.
I would like to question you because we want a random revolution or rather change, great change. And answering groups together as an alternative of the ruling government. Still, there is a lot of questions whereby we can see most of those are the holy crews which have been in government since time immemorial. And when we expect change, we expect random change. And there is no probability of achieving such a great change because the so-called oppositions, you can see lights of the Kalonzo Musyoka, lights of Njingo Malo, the same people who have been in the same government and specifically can recognize a better contribution from the senator himself, Onyonka, because in some cases they do contribute with the super mind, but the rest is, and I have never seen any kind of contribution from their side regarding the things that even Gen Zs and the millennials will try to have.
Thank you, Gikundi. Thank you very much for that question.
How is he going to ensure those alternative work are going to deliver in terms of the things that we are in that state?
Okay.
Thank you, Gikundi.
Yeah. Why trust the team now?
Right.
Okay. The truth is, Kenyan politics doesn't have ideology. We stand for nothing. Number two, it's a very complex. Let me answer using myself. The truth is, I think the people where I come from have voted for me because of my performance. That's why I've been there for that long. And yet, in reality, it's a heavy challenge. Number two, if you look at what is happening right now, I can tell you today, out of the members of parliament, you have 290. Before that, before this past election, the numbers that would lose their seats was at 90, I think 87%. In other words, we were 200 when I started getting into the National Assembly. Every 5 years, you would lose about 30 to 40. You would lose about 70. You would leave 30% that coming back, or 20%. Now, my brother is saying, what tells me that these people actually have good intention? The point I'm raising is this: which alternative do I have? All right. And for those people who think and look at leadership, we must be able to now start. In fact, I would love, we have KK and ODM going one side and this other side going on one side, so that we have two groups, so that we can now begin to ask these political parties, what do you really believe in? What do we, I mean, I'm in ODM, yes, but ask me about the environmental policy of ODM. I don't know. Talk to me about, I mean, you hear ODM was talking about affordable housing. I mean,
ELF-SITA, the stand for devolution.
That is true. But you see, ELF-SITA made sense. You see, there's certain things, if we believed in ideology and we created what is called universal income, whereby you raise money, it's a social welfare program, yes, but because our youth are so destitute, and that's how we brought Kazi kwa Vijana, that's how we brought in Kazi kwa Mtaa. Those projects were not, they were not political things. These were interventions which were thought through intellectually and were implemented to cushion the number of young people that we are having in our communities that basically are finished Form 4, they have nothing to do. Many of them have started families that are destitute. Many of them, we must begin to make our leadership present things which are simple to understand. I don't want anybody to tell me, oh, we are going to do 200,000 houses. Who needs 200,000 houses?
Make it make sense.
Because,
let's pause there. I think we have another caller.
So you see, sorry, let me finish this way. These people understand where Kenya is. And if they are not going to come up with a strategy and policies which are going to be convincing for Kenyans, even when President William Ruto may be so bad, nobody will listen to them. So my point is, it is upon them to understand that they must begin to explain to Kenyans what is broken and how they are going to fix what is broken.
Problem is, do they understand it? George in Nairobi is on the line. Yes. Good morning, Fixer.
Morning to you, how are you?
Very well, thank you. You have a question for the senator?
Yes, I have a question. Okay. I'm asking Honorable Onyonka.
Go ahead, George.
Yes, I'm asking Honorable Onyonka.
Yep. What
went wrong since the year 2005?
Yes.
When he was singing about Ruto. And today he's saying Ruto is bad. What went wrong with the current regime? If you can take, for example, what happened in Kisii.
Yes.
He was with the Simbarati. And the Simbarati financed this campaign. Today, he's fighting Simbarati. He should be clear and clean on whatever he speaks before the nation. Rather than saying that this government is bad, and yet is the one who fixed this government in.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, George.
Thank you. Can I answer that?
Yes, please.
First of all, a clever person must be able to change their minds on any matter. What makes people divorce? Or what makes people get married? They change minds. Number two, I'm not comfortable discussing Simba, but if my friend would understand, Kisii is the only county today that has got the largest capacity of people, the ratio to development expenditure versus what the HR or what our wage bill is. Kisii is at 67%.
Ooh.
The amount of money that is in the consolidated fund right now as we speak, Kisii has got 3 billion. The government is unable to spend it. All right. If you talk to the workers in Kisii County, my job is to oversight Simbarati, who used to be my friend. The point is, I disagreed with him because as governor, he did not want to listen to council. He was not consulting anybody. He doesn't understand the interplay between the governor, the women rep, and the senator. There is actually a relationship which many people don't understand. He just ignored everything we did. Simba did not finance my campaign. This is a misinformation which these people have been given. In fact, we put all our money together, me, the women rep, and Simba himself, and other people donated money to us, and we put it all together and ran a wonderful campaign. If you have an agreement that you are going to fight. And if you look at my clips during the campaign, I was talking about good governance. I was talking about fairness, equity, and justice. I was talking about providing water services to our people. I was talking about making sure that the money that we're using, which is given by the national government, is money that there's value for money in whatever projects we are done. That hasn't happened. So naturally, my friend wants me to go out there and keep singing and saying how the governor is wonderful. And the governor is not wonderful. He's a human being. I criticize him fairly. I'm not personal about him. And I've stated that I will not work with him because he doesn't represent my views and my belief. The other question he asked me is, remind me, there's the first question he asked, why did I change from supporting William Ruto in 2005? By 2005, when I was supporting President William Ruto, he was a young man who was bright, and I consider him to be one of the brightest politicians who ever was in this country, but I don't compare him with, for example, Thomas Mboya. He was good material, but I reached halfway through and realized that President William Ruto is a different breed, that his nature, he does not have the quality of doing what I call public service and public good. And his intent, and I could be wrong, his intent, as far as I'm concerned, is that he uses state resources, the state machinery, in order for him to accumulate resources for himself and his friends, and he has disregarded what the purpose of his presidency was all about. And I can run through 60 items that are like that. So naturally, as a person who believes in integrity and good governance, I found that his standard is not acceptable by me. If that is a bad call that I made, the Kisii people think I made a wonderful call. That's why they voted for me.
So they voted for you again and again?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. We have a caller before we go to the top of the hour and just take a short break and continue this conversation with the Senator. Jackson, who's the caller? Evans? Evans, good morning.
Morning to Eric.
Thank you for calling in. What's your question to the Senator?
And ningependa kusema kwa Senator. First of all, anafanya kazi nzuri juu tunaona yeye ndio amepaki kwa opposition, wengine wote ni kama wamepeleka tumbo huko. Na ningependa kuona hii muungano, in fact we are here to change our country leadership. At the moment, hii regime fail in totality. So I would like uangalie ile shida mwananchi ako nayo, kwa sababu hii government iko kwa sasa imetukanyaga mpaka mwisho. Angalia saa hivi vijana wenye saa hii waliangalia mambo ya blood parliament, umeona wote wanashikwa na wanakuwa intimidated. In fact, security of a country imegeuka kwa mwananchi, tunapiwa left, right and center. Ukijaribu hata kuenda kuripoti, hakuna polisi hata mmoja amekamatwa, kumaanisha state of a country inaelekea mahali kubaya zaidi. Now, hii muungano ambao wametengeneza, ambapo hata mimi na support 100%, na nawaomba wakuje kama wanaweza wakuje huko Mbakazi, tumewaalika na tunangoja kwa hali na gamu. Uangalie hii issue of security, economy, corruption, hiyo kitu watupilie mbali kabisa. Kwa hata ile jimu naona come 27 God willing, ni ali 3/4 watakamata wawekwa ndani kwa sababu wanatumia our resources vibaya, wanatumia polisi vibaya. Na hiyo ndio nataka hiyo muungano uangalie sana.
Safi,
na wakuje kwa ground na watusikize tafadhali.
Amekusikia.
Tumewakaribisha. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Evans. Let's take a break. Senator Richard Onyonka from Kisii County, he's here. We'll talk in the next hour about this coalition that's forming and which you are part of, and you're saying you want to be there in the technical bench.
Yes.
Wewe kazi yako ni kuambia coach. Huyo fanye
strategy.
Actually, my
let's take a break.
Thank
Talk
you.
about that shortly. It's 9 a.m. Fixing the Nation, one conversation at a time on Nation FM, NTV, and on all our digital platforms.
I think before we get back into our conversation, it seems to be generating a lot of interest. Jackson, our director, says we have a caller. You said is from Nairobi. Okech from Eldoret. Okech from Eldoret. Good morning, Okech. Please let us know if you have a question or comment.
Yes, good morning. My name is Okech from Eldoret.
Yes.
I have a question for Senator Onyonka.
Okay.
Senator, Japan is a very small country. We are told almost the size of the former Rift Valley, with a population of over 100 million, and it is a country. Rwanda is a very small country with a population much less than Kenya, and it is a country. In my view, Honorable Onyonka, we are not united. We are pretending to be united, we are not. The former provinces, we had 8 provinces in Kenya. In my view, instead of us struggling to be united, and we are not, why don't we change the 8 provinces to be 8 countries, each with their own president? Thank you.
Thank you, Okech.
Sounds like a shikamai.
That's a shikamai. Yeah. Okech, we need to get your details.
We divide this country into 8.
Former provinces.
Let me say this.
But Japan, just for context, Japan, the population of Japan is over 120 million.
Yes.
Right.
It's not as small as few as we say.
Thank you. I want to say this. Mr. Okech's question is actually a brilliant question. It is a question which many people have been asking about our nationhood. We were meant to have our communal nationalism, which is supposed to be the feeling that you have that you belong. For example, if you take the Indian community in Kenya, they have the Hindu groups. That is nothing, it doesn't have anything to do with discriminating against other people. They're basically together because they believe that their interest serves better when they stay together. When a state is in a position of near collapse, that is what happens. What Mr. Okech is talking about is that we were a state that had got a new constitution, which has got 47 counties, and that is the first mistake we made. We created 47 regions, which are actually the countries he's talking about. Why? We went to our tribal realignments and went to our clans. Many of the wards that were created in every sub-county, they're basically based on clan bases. So somebody who, for example, like me, where my votes are never more than 3,000 from my clan, it's nearly an impossibility for you to be elected. So you have to use extreme amounts of influence, and you negotiate and discuss for people to be comfortable with you to vote for you. The republic we have called Kenya doesn't have time for that. We do not have time to engage as a country and ask ourselves the real questions. We do not ask ourselves why, for example, the government, and I'm not really talking about President Ruto, because this thing has run over the last 30, 40 years. We employ people from our community, and it doesn't matter what other people think. We have thrown out meritocracy, and it's not important. We look at state participation as part and parcel of the creation of state largesse, which is based on primitive accumulation as fast as we can do it. And that's what establishes you as a kingpin. So we have these small tribal arrangements which exist. And that is why you see, for me, one of the reasons I am very positive about the discussions we are having right now with the coalition is that, in fact, Kina Wamunyoro and the other people are saying, for the first time, we have surrendered our not bequeathment, our ownership.
Our Odamaki.
Yes, of even claiming the vice presidency of this republic. We want somebody else from a certain area. But it should never be like
That's
that.
him saying. Have the others said?
My belief.
No, that's just a point. Okay, just go on.
The point I'm making is and this is what I struggle with right now. Why are we not comfortable with setting a state or a republic which is fair, which shares equitably, which manages our expectations,
which is not tribal?
Which is not tribal.
So let's go to Friday.
Yes.
And the tribe called Kisii, the Abagusi, are welcoming their son.
Yes. Right.
And they come in here and they say, you can now go. And it's felt that Matiangi had to go and start from home.
Yes.
So that he can now come out.
Yes.
Right? Yes. And nobody in the grouping of the Abagusi remembered that there was also a man called Maraga, who was also from Kisii, who has also come out and said, I would be available. Or Morana Kibaso, young man, who is also from Kisii, who has also come out and said, I'll be available.
Yes. In Kisii, everything we do is cultural. The truth we have is that we use the Bible very effectively. All Jews go to Israel once in their lifetime. And when every Jew is able capacity, once they make it in life, they are actually asked to visit Israel as many times as they come. That's the attitude we have. Latif, I cannot explain a logical and scientific reason why, but if I die, I must be buried in Kisii.
No questions asked.
That you don't
shamba ya
negotiate.
Kitale ni shamba ya Kitale.
Hiyo ni shamba ya Kitale, hapo nilienda, mimi ni mgeni. Kwangu mahali nitazikwa ni hapo Kisii. What we were trying to do is not to tribalize Matiangi. We were saying we have a community that historically has carried itself, I believe, to a large extent with dignity and professionalism. I could name many Kisiis who've been successful. I could tell you how many lawyers we have, how many scientists. In fact, right now, there's a guy who works in NASA. He's a Kisii, wants to go to, he'll be the first Kisii who may end up going to the moon.
Outwardly experienced.
Exactly.
Outer world.
Experience. But we are saying our community nationalism is not tribal. We don't want to use our unity to be against anybody. We are getting our unity together because our country is so dysfunctionally broken that everything that is done, and by the way, I want to thank my political party leader, Mzee Raila Odinga, when he commented and said, you are so small as your tribe, you can never even make it as a president. Those crowds came to show Raila that no, we are here, we are small, yes, but we can negotiate, and we are ready to sit on the table with you, Mzee, and negotiate with you. We've been with you for 25 years, we respect you, we don't have any issues with you. But when you get national government going to Luo Nyanza, and we are not complaining about it, and you announce how you're going to spend 25 billion in Luo Nyanza, and we in Kisii and the Bakuria who are non-Luo Nyanza are getting nothing, naturally there's going to be a reaction to your actions. And the reaction to that reaction is what you see. Yesterday, that shoe that you saw, on my further interrogation on what the issues were, the Kuria people were promised by President William Ruto they'd get a county. Why? Because at that time it was convenient for the campaigns of KK to use the tribal angle, how the Kuria people have been marginalized for years against the Luo community that has been in Nyanza. And it's true, the Kuria people have been a minority. But it's not that they have really been marginalized, it's just that the facts are they're a small community and the Luo is a larger community, so you're going to have a push and pull. So what has happened? The Kuria people were saying yesterday, where is our county?
Kiatu.
Okay.
Wow.
So
we have got some bites from Friday, and let's start with this. It's a compilation of several Kisii leaders who spoke in the meetings, and then we shall also hear a bit of what Fred Matiangi said in that meeting. Let's start with the Kisii leaders, Jackson.
Akutane na kila mmoja ambaye anagombea kiti na kila kabila wapate kukaa chini, tupate kupata kiongozi wetu kura hapa. Wanaume waonane kwa hatutaki vitina yoyote kwa kijana yetu. Tunakubaliana hiyo? Tumpatie ruhusa aende kutafuta marafiki watusaidie kwa hiyo kazi ya president.
Yeah. So Kisii governor, Nyamira senator
Kongo Mugeni, and Mr. Nyaribo, the governor
of Nyamira.
Yes,
they're all saying tukianza hapo wewe enda now represent us.
Yes,
time.
Yes, yeah? That's how Kenya is now.
So this is not tribal.
It's not tribal. It's not tribal. In fact, we are 47. I wish you could have 47 candidates who would sit on a table and now negotiate one. Because
each of them representing...
Latif, you can't explain to me why one individual can be given 2.3 billion shillings to go and do roads in one constituency in, for example, Maragua. And when you come to Kisii, which has got 2 counties, we don't receive more than 500 million every year.
Shida na semanga ni parliament.
Wait. In that parliament, Kisii has got only 14 members of parliament, and in reality, because of the split, half of that number has gone to UDA, and the other number has remained behind. UDA, the few who are able to access the president and get their roads done and everything, they are not more than 3. Out of 3 minus 14, 11 are getting nothing. So what we are saying, don't take my brother I love so much, and even though we quarrel politically, Osoro and Jafo, who are the treasurer of UDA, and giving them roads, and they're saying how tarmac roads are being done in their areas. And yet I have a county called Kisii, which has got an extra 9 members of parliament minus 2, so there are 7. And in those 7, none of them are getting a tarmac road. So what are we saying? Structurize it. Agree that the Kisii community is part and parcel of this nation, and you are going to allocate money to everybody. We are not asking Kisii to be an exception. We want you to give us money equitably on everything. How do you do that? We now will have 14 members who are being elected, 2 senators who are being elected, governors. We can sit and say, we are going to demand this from the government. If the government does not own up, we can say we are going to walk out. That's what democracy does, and that's where we are.
How do we trust you to do that? How do we trust that if Kisii got into office, right, that he is not going to allocate more money going into resources into Kisii?
Yes.
You know, because Kisii has been marginalized for long, so I mean they need to catch up. So let's put in money here, because you see these are the people who gave me the
bring
power.
them up to where the others are.
How do we trust that there's going to be equity just because it's a Kisii who's in office?
I'm not saying that we are going to have equity because it's a Kisii. We are saying that we are having a Kisii and any other person, including any mayor or whatever, sitting down so that if there's a new dispensation coming in for the discussion and deliberation of forming the next government, by you having a person who comes from your region sitting on the table, then you would be able to actually discuss, negotiate, and engage structurally. We are not talking about Fred Matiangi being in government. We want Fred Matiangi to fix the mess which has existed, even when he was in government with Uhuru. All right? And we are not saying that people who are getting these resources, we need to stop them now. No, what we are saying is this: give me what is mine and take what is yours fairly.
Do we have other bites? Because I wanted to ask Senator a question. Okay.
Dr. Matiangi spoke. Let's hear what Dr. Matiangi said, and then we'll hear what Senator Onyonka himself said in that meeting.
Tusipoteze imani. Let us not lose hope in our country. Tukae na imani. We are a country that is built on resilience. Hizi shida zote tuko nazo hapa, tushikane sisi wote. Siku hiyo ikifika, tutavuka hiyo daraja na tutaenda mbele. Mungu atatusaidia tu fix hiyo maneno, hii jetu iwe sawa sawa. I want to tell you this, my friends, because I know when there are challenges in a country such as we have now, and we have many challenges, let us not pretend we have serious challenges. We can very easily be tempted against each other. We start beating each other, be divided, and to mess ourselves up and destroy our country.
He's your preferred
Can
candidate.
I respond to that?
Yes.
The position we have taken is that our campaign is not to go in and, even when Kenyans are really angry with President Ruto, our job is not to demonize him. Our job is to begin discussing issues of our country, and that's what he's talking about, that we have a country that we love completely. We have a country that we deserves better. Even him, when we discuss and we raise issues about what did you do during Uhuru's time, what were the challenges and how did you manage them? And the constant discussion that we are having is that we must be in a position to sit down as adults in the room and talk about how to make this country better. We are not intending to go out there and start saying every single thing that President William Ruto has done and talk about how all this stuff that is happening. So our feeling as the Matiangi team, and indeed for me as Richard, what has happened to me is that I believe that he is prepared mentally and the rest of the team to sit down and actually say, even if you have 20 things broken in the Republic, can we fix even 3? And then move on from there. And I believe that this group is slowly beginning to understand. And I can tell you, I'm one of the people that if I find that all they want is to change individuals and then continue the normal BS, I will walk away.
You'll be out.
You have a coalition, right, who have not sort of like fronted a presidential candidate.
Yes.
But there's a preference on your side. Seems like that it's Fred Matiangi.
Yes.
Is that correct?
My preference is I have a very interesting relationship with Fred. It's kind of personal. But I've been his critic before. I mean, if you go back to my previous political engagements when he was in Uhuru's government, there were several times when I would say, I don't like the way this guy is doing ABCD. But I've learned and understood that leadership, especially the presidency, people must understand I want to use this word, but it may not sound very... The passion with which somebody looks at this republic, the passion with which I look at my country is simply because many of us are actually worried. And because I've lived it. I've been there. I mean, I've seen what happens in South Sudan. I've seen what has happened in Rwanda. I've been there during the genocide. I've seen what Kagame has done. I've come back to Kenya. It is very easy to break down a country and destroy it. It is a monumental responsibility to build it back. Now, where we are has taken 60 years. And what we are saying is the young generation, which is completely disappointed with our behavior as the leadership class, had rather throw away the baby and the water. And what we are saying, save the baby, throw the water, and then let's clean it up. So our team's agenda is to try and clean up the best we can do. Believe in statecraft. Believe in our country. I mean, right now, when we talk about SHIF is not working, SHA is not working, university students are not getting money for university education. And yet we know that the country has enough resources. Just collapse all these corruption cartels. I mean, we are spending 109 billion shillings giving people what? Bursaries. And we need 180 billion to have free education from primary to university. That doesn't make sense. All right. We are talking about NHIF was working. Where it failed is what we should have fixed.
Yeah.
How does your alignment with Matiangi sit with your party leader?
Oh, Mzee Raila.
Yeah.
But Mzee Raila was telling Kenyans last elections how Matiangi is his son. I don't see a contradiction. I think we have a very special relationship with Raila. I have been in my political life with 30 years with Raila. So he's part of my life, kind of. But where we are moving to is that we feel that our people, and for me, the people who employed me are my voters. My voters are feeling that Mzee is not coming out and living his name and his legacy for history's sake. People in my community and people who voted for me, and indeed Kenyans and the young generation, feel that Mzee should have held his fire without necessarily being antagonistic to the government, and make sure that, if anything, President William Ruto changes. And the reality we are facing, all of us, is that we don't think President Ruto will change. So Raila has ended up being in a position where we were when he joined President Uhuru. That everything that Uhuru did that was wrong was now lumped on Raila, because everybody said, you should have told him not to do that. You were there sitting with him and he was your bosom buddy. So as far as we are concerned, even when it's an opportunity for you to be president, we'll not vote for you. And I see many people complaining how Central refused to vote for Raila and all that. My suggestion is very simple. Raila has played a role in this republic that you cannot erase. But a good player must know when he leaves the dancing floor. Thank you.
Following up on Mariam's question, then if you do, in a sense, seem to disagree with some of those, his stances, why remain? Why stay in ODM?
I stay in ODM because I think, one, it would be silly for me to go for an election now. In fact, even if I went, I would win. So why do the obvious?
Why waste people's resources?
Why waste people's resources? Number two, on a selfish level, I would rather not waste my time and energy and resources to go and fight for a seat. Number three, ODM as a party, and I've really appreciated what Mzee Raila has done. I like the way Sifuna shoots. I like the way Orengo is shooting. Sometimes I also shoot. It's a party where we shoot. And we are shooting issues which are not personal. We are shooting about the critical policy and political matters which are affecting the country. I believe that with time, because of this engagement and because of having been in ODM, I can say that my mind is so opposition. I think the day, if there was a new government coming and somebody made me a minister or made minister, or I came back as a senator, or I became as an MCA, I would criticize the president who came from my party.
It's like a system glitch.
It's a system glitch, yes. That's where I am.
We have a caller on the line.
Yeah, that's Andrew from Nairobi. Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning, how are you?
Very well. What's your question for Senator Onyonka?
My question to Senator Onyonka is, what plan do they have for, if they take over power about the CDF? Because all MPs from both sides are fighting about CDF.
Yes.
If that money has to go to the ground, can it go to the ground through somebody's hand, apart from MPs, their hands in or their eyes in? Them just oversight, even if it's a DC or a director of education, to the ground or sub-county education officer, or down to the chief, other than them having a hand in.
I will respond this. I was amongst the first members of parliament then after I left the National Assembly. In fact, before I left the National Assembly, I used to talk about this. And I'm going to try and explain what has happened to the country, our country. CDF was meant well. It was meant to do its job. It was a good idea because the structure CDF has, I wish we had taken that structure to the county governments. Why? Because CDF, you don't spend money without a code. You don't spend money without a program. You budget, then once you budgeted, the money comes, then you implement, and after that there's audit and everything is done. Now, something then happened. As you are in the National Assembly, we then started, and I was part of the team, by the way, because I had never understood what that had done to our country. Once you give me money as a member of parliament, and that money is actually given by the president. Why? Because he's the one who proposes the budget that is coming. God forbid, and many people have always said, oh, UMPs, what is it? No. God forbid, like when President Ruto won, what happened? He had the majority of members of parliament. So all he did was to call his people and say, listen, badilisha hii. What do you want? CDF, increase it from 2.5% that it was to ongeze ikue 3.5. Right now, all members of parliament receive about 300 million shillings plus the bursary money and everything every single year. Tell me how such a person is going to vote against the president when he makes a bad call. That is the dysfunctionality that CDF has brought to parliament. Number two, this is again where I agree with Mzee Raila. Mzee Raila's comment is how the CDF should not be where it is because members of parliament have become contractors. They are messing up everything and all that. But Mzee Raila forgets one thing. The fact that he has joined President William Ruto's government, he has made our country dysfunctional because right now we have no opposition. And yet he's the one who fought with blood and tears to create an opposition that is supposed to criticize and check the government in power. So the point we ask is this. Here we are, we have created a mongrel. Why then can't we now have this mongrel constitutionalized? So that anybody who runs for elections, if he loses, number two becomes the one they set a coalition government with. That's what has happened for the last 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Let's constitutionalize it. Don't go behind the back door.
Let's not waste time.
Yes, let's tell Kenyans the system that can work for us from today is now, if you run for president, for example, if Matiangi runs and he becomes president and William Ruto becomes number two, then Matiangi should now call William and say, let's form a coalition.
So that we have the same problem entrenched into government like perpetually.
That is the point I'm making.
And still no opposition.
And still no opposition in government. That is what we have created. Yes.
And we need to go back on it.
And we need to go back, and we must be a country that believes in rule of law.
Okay.
Yes.
Earlier in the morning, when we were looking at the meeting that was held yesterday, and you were one of those that went to Omunyoro.
Yes.
And all of you leaders were meeting there in Omunyoro.
Yes.
Now, Rigiji is the one who's like, Mzee, who's calling people together and organizing.
Yes.
We're looking at this lineup of leaders. Rigiji.
Yes.
Kalonzo Musyoka.
Yes.
Fred Matiangi. Martha Karua. Eugene Wamalwa. Dr. Muhisa Kitui, I saw him on a meeting earlier in the week. Mithika Linturi.
Yes.
JB Muturi, So those three, Rigiji, Medeka, Linturi, Muturi, those are Ruto's government people.
Exactly.
They were just fired the other day. But now they're the ones who are actually calling you to a meeting.
No, the beauty, thank you. It's good to see it that way, but I don't see it that way.
How do you see it?
It's the most wonderful thing that ever happened. They are revealing what was happening. They are continuing to confirm the dysfunctionality and the brokenness of our republic.
And they're now presenting themselves
see,
as part of the solution?
If I go out to break a law with somebody and we have a matter coming in court, why is the prosecutor allowed to have a negotiated arrangement with this individual who now becomes a state witness, reveals what was happening?
Set a thief to
Nobody judges that witness who comes and gives you the evidence. So don't judge Gachagua. Give him to me. He's telling us how things were being done. He's showing you the dysfunctionality, the craziness, the inability of our state to run as a normal democratic state. When Justin Muturi is talking about his son, it is true. And I said it yesterday. I was there. I talked with him when he came to the National Assembly. If you were very careful, you would see one day he walked in at the front of the assembly and I opened the door for him and I said, please go well, make sure they don't kill you. How do you then criticize Justin? He's coming out and revealing something that how do you abduct a child of an attorney general in your administration? That's not normal.
How do you abduct a child? I think.
How do you abduct a child? And then you come to Rinturi. And this is why I said, even when you're accusing somebody, and I was the first one, by the way, you go to TV, I was the one who was saying, why is Rinturi now selling fertilizer and mixing with cow poop? Rinturi now is saying that was not his stuff. He's revealing who the owner of that stuff is. Isn't that lovely?
Okay.
Yes.
But now he's part of the solution?
No. When
he is in your coalition.
Thank you, I'll tell you. When you
we could end up seeing a negotiation here where Linturi now comes into this next government, where Rigiji comes into the next government, where JB Muturi, who was a speaker for 10 years and Attorney General, comes into this government, where Eugene Omalwa, who was a minister in the other one, comes into this government, Dr. Matiangi, who was a minister just the other day, comes into this government. You as an ODM person, one who's not been in this government, aren't you feeling like these guys are just playing us?
No. Where do you get those angels you're talking about?
Shikina you.
I mean, I told you that, Latif, you want to make me president? Give me 5 billion.
There are others who would come out.
I mean, the truth is, there's a fallacy, there's a narrative that is being given out here that you are going to look for individuals who have this stunning character mesh, who have this ideological and emotional and moral high ground to become president. That's not how it happens in this field where I work. The field where I work is a field full of snakes and ladders. When you move up, you think you're moved down. The snakes pull the ladder away and you come down and they get a hold of you. These regimes that we've had for the last 60 years in this republic were dealing with things which it has reached a state. The Gen Zs are the ones who actually brought out the break-even point. Either you continue with the same nonsense and the regime in another 10 years completely breaks down, and that's where you are. We are overborrowing, we are overspending on stupid stuff, we are dismissing what is critical for the country to move ahead. We look at everything politically, tribally. We have thrown out the very tenets of good governance, meritocracy, honor, justice. I mean,
it's all gone.
It's all gone.
Richard,
so the question I'm asking, the best way to handle this is number one, you go and start from primary school so that you can bring children who are going to understand that you must have public service as being a word of honor, a thing of honor. Or you're going to continue with this broken vehicle and keep on cleaning it up as you move, as the young ones are coming, so that they can change the republic.
Steve Tosh says, for now, Kenya doesn't need politicians. We need a decent leader. This is what Steve is saying on Facebook. Although Tom Terry is saying, hamtaki Ruto, hamtaki Matiangi, hamtaki nani.
But
I want to just, sorry, Janet, I just want to go back into you. Richard, if you look back at this country over the last 13 years, right? Since 12 years, since 2013, right? Do you think we've been going up or been going down?
Oh, Jesus. We've lost.
We've lost.
We've lost.
Okay, just
we've
lost
lost.
there.
Yeah.
Those who are in the driver's seat.
Yes.
Uhuru Kenyatta is now sponsoring Fred Matiangi, who was his minister throughout his tenure.
Uhuru is not sponsoring Matiangi.
Okay.
He's supporting him
He's supporting
as a friend.
He's the party leader, and party Jubilee Party is fronting Matiangi.
Jubilee Party.
So the party, the Secretary General of Jubilee has been here.
I know.
And he has told us that they are so far as they are concerned right now, Jubilee would front Matiangi, and we've seen Matiangi.
Can you allow me
to?
Leader, can you allow me?
So let me say,
okay.
President Uhuru Kenyatta is supporting Matiangi.
Yes.
Dr. Matiangi, who served in that cabinet for all those years, is there. Then we have Justin Muturi, who was Jubilee-sponsored Speaker of the National Assembly for those years, is there.
Yes.
Medeka Linturi, who was also there, and then he broke ranks and went to Ruto, is there. We have all these people who are part of the problem then, and the people who are part of the problem in the current administration are part of the solution in 2027. Richard,
let me answer you. During that time when Matiangi was in Uhuru's government, how did he perform?
Who? Uhuru or Matiangi?
Matiangi. All right. When you look at Kalonzo Musyoka, he has served. No, I'm going back to his relationship with Kibaki. He was Kibaki's vice president.
Yes.
How did he perform? When you look at Martha Karua, she was the Minister for Justice during Kibaki's time. You remember one of her blots is...
You notice I did not mention those. I didn't mention
No,
Kalonzo.
I'm bringing them so that my argument makes sense to you.
Okay.
These are 3 to 4 individuals who have records which can stand on their own. The fact that they are in this team and they have not participated in making sure they get... they have not succeeded in getting the presidency of this country. Look at Raila. Raila has had so many challenges, including there were scandals and everything about him, and there were issues about all this stuff, and yet he has continued and maintained for the last 30 years of his life saying, no, please, we can change this country. We can make it better. So the argument I'm making is that even when some of these people may have some issues, because politicians and leaders, even that manager that Kenyans are talking about, we want somebody who's going to be a manager. He will make mistakes. Why? Because when you are at that level, the conditions under which you operate change.
Senator, I feel like there's a bit of a scarcity mentality that you are trying to feed us and the political class is trying to feed us. And our choices are limited to big evil or small evil, big bad or small bad, smaller bad. A or B, but A and B all having worked together, all having been in the same government, all having track records that are almost the same.
Yes.
I'm a believer that we have people who are able to do the job and qualified to do the job, who don't have as many questions surrounding them, as many ethical issues surrounding them. And I think they are running for president.
True.
Why this push to get people into a box of your options are A and B, A being person from the government, B being person from the government as well.
True.
A being person with questionable ethical issues, B also being person with questionable ethical issues.
Yes.
And so on and so forth.
You made a wonderful case. Why don't those ones who want to run for president run? Omtata is my friend. He wants to run for president. I think he's okay. If you look at Justice Maraga, you said he's a good man. I'm comfortable if, like you're sitting here, Kenyans are looking and saying, this is the president we want. Give it a shot.
Why wouldn't someone with the pull of Senator Onyonka go behind one of those candidates?
My point is, those candidates have not asked me. It is Matiangi who asked me to support him and work with him. I mean...
But just because someone asks, you don't have to always say yes.
No.
You could say no if you feel like, hey...
The point I'm making is, it's a very difficult thing to look at our politics from the perspective that all these individuals are actually either bad company, bad quality, and people who cannot provide solutions to the country. But I have raised an issue that, one, for example, if you take Martha Karua, one of the issues that was raised is that during Kibaki's election on Raila, she participated in, even when she was from the civil rights space. She was standing up and saying, we are not going to allow Raila to become president. And yet, in reality, look at what happened after that. Martha Karua became Raila's vice president. It's not that that matter was thrown under the rug. It is just that it is a footnote in her political career which has been stunning. That's what I'm saying. If you look at Justin Muturi, he has been a speaker for 10 years. I don't think there was any time that Justin Muturi was a speaker that there was a scandal how he stole something or he was unbecoming politically or anything. He has a good record. He served 10 years and now he was an attorney general. The reason why he left this government was because his son was being abducted and he feared for his death. So I'm saying there are individuals, and the Kenyan context is that all these people want to put them together and say these are crooks and thugs who are going to do that. What I'm saying is, I am not crazy to think that these people can fix the country, looking at my record. I'm reasonable, I'm fair, and I've accepted where I am. And I'm saying, forgive me if I look like I'm not giving people other alternatives. What I'm saying, okay, Umtata, my brother, can you go and campaign? Let me see you hold the ground. I'm asking for Justice Maraga. He's a mzee I respect. When he was running for president, he asked me, and I gave him my opinion. I will not discuss what it is. And my young brother, Murara, if he has the public and the youth love him, let him go to the ground. Let him now begin to talk and ask Kenyans to understand what to do in the country. And most probably, if the crowd turn to him, most likely, because we're intelligent people, we will also shift there.
Dante, let me just read this comment. Dante is saying, even Kibaki was part of Moi's government for more than 10 years.
Absolutely.
As vice president.
Absolutely.
And later he performed.
Yes.
So he's telling me that my excuse doesn't hold water.
It's still one of those things that it's a hard pill to swallow-ish when you think about the room.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Kibaki was performing even in Moi's government. Am I wrong?
Yes.
He was.
He was.
Okay.
But he was Moi's vice president when these things were happening.
Yes.
Up to 1988.
Absolutely.
When he was
there.
You know,
just the way Kalonzo Musyoka was a vice president and some issues came from that administration.
This is why people have PTSD and long-term trauma, because it's a musical chairs game, and you almost feel like it's the same players, which leads me to ask, we've talked a lot about this country being the youngest, the population that's the largest is the youngest. Where is room in the Avengers coalition for young voices, either to front or support them, because they are essentially the majority?
Thank you. We discussed that thing. In fact, if you look at our group, you'll see that even the gender question, we had very few ladies who are part of the team. The reason is this is something that is being set up. I believe that the young Kenyans are going to come and become part of the team. I intend, my role in this exercise is to intend that when new ideas come and young people come and begin to discuss about what the challenges and issues of our country are, then they should be given a chance to do that. And if we form government, my honest observation is that 50% of the cabinet should then be of young people, so that they can then be mentored and so that they can go on and continue because of continuity. Yes.
I would say 70% if we're being representative of the population.
That is true, but if you do that, the fear I have is that sometimes, and I've had this criticism severally, and I've seen young people say, we don't need anything from you old geezers and people who have wasted our life and everything. But I can tell them this. The reason why I think personally I've been a very good and successful politician is because, one, I have the experience. Number two, the education and the patience and wisdom. The Kenyan political matrix, to survive, there's a time when you move fast, there's a time you go slow, and there's a time when you stay in the middle. Once our young people understand that, then you can now give them the country.
What's your preferred ticket? For
right
2027,
now,
yes.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I love my job. Being a senator has been one of the most incredible experiences in my life, because that is where that's where you open the engines. That's where we look at the books. That's how you see how the money is being stolen. That's where you look at the crooks and the sad mentality that exists in our country. If I was to leave the Senate, I would miss it. A lot of people, again, we always talk about, we want you to go and run for this position. I'm not going to make a comment and say my people will tell me. But I think I always leave this until when the time comes. But if I'm given an opportunity to serve as governor, I will. If I'm made if I'm made a senator again, I will serve. I am comfortable.
On the presidential ballot in 2027,
yes.
What would you like to see? What two names would you like to see on that ballot?
if Fred Matiangi is given the opportunity to become president of Kenya, I believe that his mind and conscience is at the position where he can't take it any lower than it is. If Kalonzo Musyoka is president of the Republic, I will sleep well. All right. I think his experience, his time in government, he has served Raila, he has served Kibaki, he has served Moi. Those servings he did with these regimes, all he needs to do is now is combine that and understand what were the biggest challenges and what were the opportunities missed. So my honest observation that, and indeed, you're making me maybe to be hanged by my friends. Why am I mentioning these names? I think all the people, I mean, I'll tell you the truth. I love Eugene Wamalwa. I think he's a person who's great. He speaks well. He articulates. He's clean.
Those are words that are said by someone who's like, but those two names you've said.
I think the front runners are either
Kalonzo
Matiangi or Matiangi and Kalonzo.
Okay.
That's where we are.
No Martha.
No, Martha,
because
you see what we are
because
trying...
Rigiji has said mountain is...
No, what we are trying to see, even Rigiji can be president. You see, what I'm trying to say is this. We have all learned the mess we created. And all these people are actually going through their guilt trip. We are going through our guilt trip. How can we fix our country? How can we pick it up and put it in a position where it's a country that will be respected? We've done badly. So my feeling is that all these people are engaged with the issues, and I believe that they will participate in making sure that we leave Kenya a better place.
One of the reasons why you said you'd hesitate to put yourself up for running for president is the huge financial toll that it would bring bear on you. So you think these two have the financial muscle? Dr. Matiangi and Kalonzo would have the money to run a presidential campaign?
I can tell you, one of the things that has shocked us, personally, I am completely shocked. I have traveled out of the country, I think 3 times. I went to Botswana a while ago. I met a group of Kenyans. I went to Dubai. I have traveled to the US last year. People are saying, you know how you people, money is no longer the question now. We are ready to contribute, but if you get elected and you mess it up, so I'm seeing the public engaging financially, which they should, because like in the US, you notice how much money Donald Trump raised. Of course, you have the Elon Musk issues, which I don't want to introduce here. But Kenyans are beginning now to engage by saying, we understand what it takes for one to be a president. They want to be reassured that whoever that is going to be president of the Republic will not betray them. And that is why they want to put the money where their mouths are. And for me, that's a positive development. So I think our group is able to raise funds. All elections I've participated in, whether it is the last election, I was there when our teams were running around the world looking for money from friends and getting contributions from Kenyans in the diaspora. I saw during Kibaki's time, we were in the opposition again with Raila. I would travel with Wetangula to different countries to ask friends, and we would get some donations. So I think our team has the capacity. If they come up with positive policy engagements which Kenyans are going to be happy about, which are not complex. We don't want too many English words and stuff. Just tell me, you'll do this, and you're going to do it. And please, can you do it?
Yeah. Speaking of finances, if we can bring in something for the finance bill. You had something?
No, it's just quite a bit of feedback before we get into the finance bill.
Right, okay.
On X specifically. On YouTube, the sentiment was quite friendly towards Dr. Matiangi, for example. On X, a bit different. Fafa Boy says, if this is the kind of thinking we're entertaining, them Tuetu syndrome, Ruto will have a walkover in 2027. We are not short of ethical and good standing leaders for me, but Matiangi is a big no. Go back to the drawing board. Someone else says, have you ever, we're looking for an angel, to your statement. Yes, we are looking for an angel, Lord Jesus Christ, to come and save us. We are draining the swamp. Abed Mutai says, when it's your person, it's suddenly we aren't looking for Jesus. why go for, I never thought the senator would one day defend a corrupt person. Oh wow, that's from Josephat Otieno. So that's the sentiment. It's like, yes, we are looking for an angel indeed, or Jesus Christ, to come and save us.
Can I tell Mr. Otieno, let him show me amongst the political class of people that I know who's not corrupt.
He should front names.
They should, yeah. And I'm saying the field is open. Mr. Otieno, even you're clean. Run. Come and join our group and tell us how all of us are corrupt. We are basically nitwits. We don't have the capacity to change the country. We have participated. We are the ones who have participated in the destruction and mismanagement of the republic. So come, my brother.
It's okay. Those sentiments will be there.
More comments as well on YouTube.
Yeah, there are more comments. I already had the question about the finance bill. Let me see if I can get some comments. You want to read the comments on YouTube? Go ahead. Yeah, you read them. Let me just
take a couple.
Okay.
Emmanuel Templar says Kalonzo is probably the best option among these people. He's a gentleman, will not abduct and murder or try to eliminate the whole Supreme Court. Jane says, but sincerely speaking, even though Matiangi sounds like he's a recycled leader, he's the only one who can counter Ruto's muscle. This country needs someone with some level of thorax. Like Matiangi. Nathan, most of the leaders were point of another leader. I don't think there's anyone who's topping another. Dante says if there's someone who can say help to Uhuru with all his flaws, it's only Matiangi. So for Uhuru kurudisha mkono, sio mbaya. Anyway, campaign needs deep pockets, and Kalonzo cannot manage it alone. Emmanuel says also Kalonzo seems genuinely God-fearing. Unlike
the truth is that is the contradiction of our existence right now. And it's a difficult call. It's a very, very difficult call. But with time, and you know, I keep telling Kenyans, we have 2.5 years to go. Well, I mean, severally I've seen, I'm Christian Catholic, I've seen angels coming and managing the Lord's work. So I pray that we'll have an angel who come and manage the Lord's work.
Wow. We have a few minutes to the top of the hour. For me, I think about this new finance bill. It's got hidden taxes, but the technical terms are like zero-rated, exemption, KRA also been able to come for mobile data. It just seems like a bit of a dangerous overreach, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it.
I have always maintained a position that I maintain up to now. Kenya doesn't need any more taxes. It doesn't completely. Why? Just look at your period of 10 years. What has happened to our country? When Uhuru came in, the debt he left at that time was about 6.2 trillion. Kibaki had left us with about 1.9 trillion. Then, in a period of 2 years, President William Ruto has increased Uhuru's debt of 6.9 trillion to 14 trillion. All right? Now, when I sit down to engage, all or most of this money is actually being set up for recurrent expenditure. There is no development money. Yeah. There's no projects that we are seeing that are valid. I thought when the president was saying, I mean, you know, sometimes I wonder what really happens. SGR, which we are borrowing money on now, should have been an electric railway line. The amount of money we were supposed to use initially to set up SGR was 290 billion. That was the initial contract that was signed. We are at 1.2 trillion and we have not paid half that debt. And we've been paying for the last, 6 years. We are extending the railway line to western part of Kenya, whereas the Tanzanians are doing the Tazara railway from down south, coming all the way to Mwanza. And it's 1,200 kilometers, and it's an electric train, and they're only going to spend equivalent Kenyan money, 246 billion.
Ethiopia did an electric one with more or less the same amount of money we spent on that.
Exactly. So our money is being stolen, and the challenges that we are facing sometimes overwhelm many of us. So where I am, for me, anytime I see the government wanting to increase taxes, I want to run away. I pray and hope that my brother John Badi can make sure that, which we know and he knows and he has spoken about it, how corruption and 2 billion is being eaten every day. It is true. 2 billion times 30 days, that's 60 billion times
12.
Yeah, you're talking about 600, 700 billion shillings. Isn't that money that you can save and use it for development expenditure without increasing taxes? That's my point.
Okay.
Yes.
So how do we make sure that people engage better with the finance bill this time? Because we have those two documents are before Parliament. Now we have the
I can ask you
estimates.
I can make a request that you could most probably, they're very, they may not be willing to come. In Parliament we have what is called the budget office.
Yep.
And the team there's a young man who's called I think Masinde. They are very good. How I wish they could be allowed to come and you interview them. They go down with a toothpick and they run through the numbers and everything and explain everything in a very simplistic manner. At the same time, there are people who can actually break down everything for you so that you can explain to the public. But my point is, for me, we don't need to increase any more taxes. It's going to waste, money is being stolen, the projects are not there, and all this money, by the way, is now being taken to roads, because roads is a place where it can be removed very easily. You don't have to even do the road. Kera people, Kura, we have been saying, and that's where I agree with Mzee Raila, let us take all these roads money to the county governments, then domicile the members of parliament who are saying they don't want that in those county governments, so that when the money comes, it can work for the people at the village. Because the majority of our Kenyan people really are in a mess, and we are the ones who have put them in the mess.
Senator, we thank you very much for joining us today. And yes, indeed, we are reaching out to the Parliamentary Budget Office, but also to the National Treasury, to the Parliament
come and explain,
committees on budget and finance, so we can start looking at the finance bill bit by bit, and then we'll go into sectors, the manufacturing sector, all the other sectors, just to come and tell us what they are looking at in the finance bill, and how it will be every Tuesday.
If nobody shows up, I sit in that budget committee, so you can call me.
You too.
Just come and break it down.
Asante sana.
Thank you.
Well,
and I want to say thank you so much for. I'm very, very tired. I'm unkempt. It's because I slept at 4 this morning, so I need to go and sleep now. Thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you.
I enjoyed your show. Everybody, my friends are telling me, you've not gone to that show. Why have you not? I said, I'll go.
The timing was good.
Thank you.
Here you are. Here you are. So thank you very much for tuning in to Fixing the Nation, one conversation at a time on Nation FM and NTV. Just keep it here for more programming coming in, of course, on the radio and on the TV. And you'll find all these conversations on our YouTube channel. That's NTV Kenya on YouTube. Go to playlists, scroll down, you find Fixing the Nation, many videos there, binge, and also join the community and comment. See you again tomorrow. It's Eric Latif, Mariam Bishar, and Janet Bogwa with our guest, Senator Richard Onyonka. See you tomorrow.